Alright, only a couple of days away to the Mr Olympia, and if all things go as they have the last couple of years, it's probably going to be in the open Phil Heath and in the 212 Flex Lewis. So I thought I'd just do a little bit of a comparison in terms of whether it would be possible, if this was a total open competition as it was prior to the 212, whether Flex Lewis had potential to win. Now we'll go through some compulsory poses and see how they match up. First one here I've got is a side tricep. Now this isn't the traditional side tricep pose, but it's the one that I could find with both of them in as close as I could find to their best condition. And apologies to either one of these guys if I bring up a photo that isn't one of their better ones or more recent ones. So side tricep, pretty much for me this is hands down Phil. I prefer the way he does this pose because he rotates his left shoulder in further, so you see that definition and size of his shoulder plus part of his arm. I think the actual that's being posed, taken into consideration size, I think they're fairly comparable because Flex has got some massive forearms, as does Phil. Bicep, tricep development's pretty good with both of those guys. Obviously Phil has got humongous arms. When it comes to the legs, hands down to Phil. The hamstring is significantly larger. Condition you can see even in both of these guys is really good. I also like how Phil sort of contracts the obliques quite a bit more than Flex's version of this pose. So for me, this is easy. Next one will be side chest. I'm liking Phil's version of this better as well. He's bringing his arm down lower, so he shows off his obliques serratus, whereas Flex is doing more the classical side chest pose, where he's covering up that part of the body to sort of push his upper chest higher, which it looks really nice actually, but whether it's the best for displaying as much of his physique as possible all in one pose, I don't know that it is. In this pose, I sort of feel like their legs look a lot closer than the other photo, even though pretty much technically they're the same. But I think Phil looks a lot better. His chest looks a lot bigger. His shoulder on his right arm, you can see the rear delt roundness a lot more than you can with Flex's, and that might be the pose, the way he does it, or it might be just development. Now front lat spread, now this isn't one of Phil's greatest poses for me, but in saying that, it's still another solid pose if he comes in the condition. You can see he's carrying very, very little in fat there. You can still look at his legs. It's not a leg pose, but they look really good in this one. Good separation, vascularity all throughout. His arms are almost a bit too dominant in this pose because they're sort of overlapping his lats a bit. He has got a really good back and a fairly good width through his back for quite a narrow-shouldered man, but I don't think it looks this great in this pose. Not one of his best poses. Flex, I really like in this pose. Look, he's smaller, no question. His legs are not as wide, hasn't got that sweep that Phil has, or even the teardrop, but I just think the pose looks more relaxed. It's more in the classic way to do it, and I think it shows good width. You can still see reasonable ab definition, which you sort of lose in Phil on this particular pose. I like it. I don't know if Phil's just trying to do too much by squeezing in his chest and everything, but yeah, I just don't like it. Rear lats, downstairs, look, it's not too far apart, really. Look, you'd still give the nod to Phil there. He's very diced through the glutes, but he's also got that length of the glute, which Flex doesn't have as much. He's still in really good condition here. He's still nice separation, definition through the hamstrings. They've both got really good calves, but going up to the back itself, Phil has got that really, really long, deep trapezius that goes right down to his bottom of his back and then sweeps out. It almost giving it a bit of a bottom butt. That thickness is so low, whereas you look at the thickness of Flex's, it stops about probably 2/3 way down his back. He's from the outside of the lats. I quite like Flex. You know, he's got some good separation there, which you don't see in Phil. Both their triceps are, you can see they're quite diced. The forearms of both these guys are really large. But look, you'd have to give this to Phil, and quite comfortably, I'd be reckoning. Abs and thighs, again, not one of Phil's favourite poses. Look, apologies to Flex here, I don't think it's one of his better abs and thighs, but I struggle to find some good shots that I could sort of match up 1-to-1. I think I'd probably give this one to Flex. I still like the depth of the separation in Phil's legs on this one. His sides of his abdominals are quite well defined, but they haven't got that look of fingers like the oblique serratus coming in like Flex has, and he hasn't got that really attractive looking six-pack. It's quite a messed up looking abdominal on Phil. It's a totally hereditary thing and there's nothing he can do about it, but I'd give this one to Flex really. Rear double bi, man, this one's this is Phil all the way for me. Look, I think Flex does a really good job of this. He's got really brings his shoulders back nicely, and so you can see the full deltoid there. He's got good separation throughout, right down to his sort of about 2/3 way down his back, and you can see the condition is there. Glutes downwards, we've already talked about that in the rear lat and lat spread, and I think this pose is very similar to that in both Phil and Flex, but the depth of the muscle is where Phil has really got this. There's a really nice roundness to the muscle belly as well of Phil's, which really looks good. Really brings out the, particularly with the oil on, the tan on, highlights it through the lights. It just looks really solid. It really is a good pose for him, and it's there's not too many with a better rear back double bicep at the moment, I'd say, if there is any. Front double bicep, I'll give apologies here to I'll probably just Flex on this one. I really struggle to find a double bicep with this guy. It's not one of his great poses for me. While he's got big arms, he's got quite flat biceps, and it doesn't look good for him. The way he poses his double bicep is he stretches his abdominal area really high up as well, and I just don't think it looks good. If you could do this with a more compressed abdominal, I know he's trying to look big and powerful and tall. It doesn't look great. His legs look good. Hasn't got the size or the depth of separation that Phil has. not one of Phil's great poses either. Same sort of thing I feel between him and Flex is the way they pose their abdominals just don't come through good on the front double buys. I've seen a couple of Phil's poses where he's got his abs and you can see them contracted and it looks good, but a lot of the times I see him do this pose, he looks like this with his abdominals stretched out, so it's just not an attractive pose for me. Now, I think I've covered all but the most muscular. If I missed one, look, let me know. Most muscular, couldn't find a real comparison on this one. Phil's got this one nailed. It's one of his take-home poses. His traps, shoulders, arms are just monstrous, and he looks really good in this pose. It's probably him and Rolly, the Wolf. I don't have anyone else close to those three in this pose. I really think they look good in it. Flex, couldn't see the similar pose to Phil. I could only find this one here of recent times. I was trying to get more recent photos and old ones of Flex because his body has changed quite a lot over the last couple of years. This is a real classic type of most muscular. It looks good, and look, he's really in good shape. You can see his abdominals where his fills, we squashed right over with the shoulders, and traps dominant in this pose, whereas you can see more of Flex's physique. It's a nice pose, and it's not it doesn't look bad, but it's no comparison. Phil's got this. It's a very aggressive pose Phil does, and I think it really gets the crowd wound up. Now, before I finish, look, I want to just say, look, I know these guys are two different weight classes, and there's always that thing about the height as well. Flex is 5'5.5", I think. Phil's 5'9", and they always say, you know, a good big man will always be a good shorter man. And Flex really diets down a lot for this 212. You know, off season, this guy's monstrous. You know, and look, I can only compose him on contest shape of the 212 versus Phil as big as he wants. He doesn't have to diet down to that size. He can go in at 260 if he makes 260. I think he might do this year. I don't know. He looks monstrous off season in shape. So if Flex just went open, blew out another 20-30 pounds, I don't know. He could be a different bodybuilder completely. But as it stands, I've got this quite comfortably. Phil is number one, and if there was an open category, then there is an open category between both divisions. Phil will be the man for me on this one. See you later, guys.